This episode brought to you by Gray Block Pizza. Gray Block Pizza at 1811 Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles. Consider Gray Block. Today's episode features a young lady that I met through a friend. We have a mutual friend, and she's a bad beauty of basketball, if you ask me. You know, and I've honestly always had maybe a mild little crush on her, if I'm being 100% transparent, and I am. I'm just so happy to have her here today. She's smart and she's eloquent and she's extremely charming. She is the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, Miss Jeanie Buss. You're the first female that we've had in that's not a comedian, I think.
I'm trying to be a comedian.
I know, that's true. Can you hear it?
Hello.
The lovely Jeanie Buss is here. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we were talking, because you and I have a mutual friend, Dr. Will Kirby.
Yes.
And we were talking about you're doing stand-up comedy.
I'm taking a class because I'm asked to speak a lot, and I'm painfully shy, and so I thought if I could be a little bit more funny, then maybe it wouldn't be so painful for me.
Wow!
So I'm taking a class. It's for it's called Pretty Funny Women, and so it's women only. And
is it Lori Kilmartin that runs that? No, who is that?
Lisa Sunstead.
Yes,
and so I'm looking forward to that, and it's, to challenge myself.
And tonight's the first class.
Tonight's the first class, so I had to prepare, kind of an opening where she talked about, like when you get up in front of an audience, you try to connect with them. Right. And so she said, if you have something outstanding about you, like a funny voice, or you're really tall or something, maybe talk about that in your opening, just so then, because people are watching you up on stage, they don't know who you are.
Right, they're just taken immediately by what they see.
Right, and so I kind of wrote my opening around something that a friend of mine said about me, and I took that, and that's going to kind of be my comedy.
Let's start. Look, I want to start right there then. So Do you have the opening?
I can't. I mean, I can kind of give it to you.
Okay, you give it to me a little bit if you feel comfortable.
Okay,
is it okay?
So I get up on stage and I say, it's great to be here tonight, and I'm this new for me. I'm learning how to do it, and I was kind of told that you kind of introduce yourself to the audience, and maybe something about you, and so I asked one of my girlfriends, if you saw me standing up in front of an audience and you didn't know me, what would you think? And she said, I would think Barbie. And I'm thinking, oh, Barbie, okay, I can kind of get that a little bit.
Okay.
And she goes, Mom, Barbie's mom. And I went, oh my gosh, wait a minute.
Like, let's hope the Corvette's insured kind of thing.
Barbie's mom? Who's Barbie's mom? Have we ever talked about Barbie's mom?
We don't know.
We don't know who her was.
That's so true. Who is it? Sandra? What's the mother's name? Diane?
Right. Is it like, was she like a science experiment, a test tube? Like, and did Ken miss out on like a mother-daughter trio? And I thought about every time, Ken and Barbie got married, I never invited Mom.
Yeah. Mom wasn't there.
Like, I think it's ruined a generation of women's relationship with their mom.
Because Barbie didn't have one.
You didn't need one.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then of course that leads us to the, well then who's Barbie's dad?
Oh, wow.
Well, we know she had a Corvette and a dream house. So maybe it's Donald Trump.
Maybe it was, that's good.
So
I like
anyway,
that. That's good. I didn't see that coming. So that's kind of the first build into the joke.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
That's like the first thing I've ever written. So.
Oh, wow. It's good. No, I love hearing you talk about that. And the other night, whenever I saw you, whenever we have a mutual friend and we've met before. I saw you a few times over the years, and then we sat together at their wedding or on the same table.
Yeah.
But you started talking about stand-up comedy when we were talking about it, and I was like, wow. I said, Jeanie is just, she's so charming, you know? I thought you were just a beautiful lady, and I thought you were just extremely charming. I was like, I would laugh. I want to know more about like her trying to make people laugh. And I took a class. You know, when I got into stand-up, a lot of people know I took a class, and I didn't do it for about 2 years, but I did take a class. And it was helpful, and it was a lot of fun. And you get to perform at the end. Mm-hmm. So you guys will have a date probably in a couple of months where you'll be doing stand-up comedy.
Probably, if I can last that long, if I don't have a heart attack.
Are you taking a friend with you to the class or no?
No. I have to push myself and challenge myself, and you know, get myself out of the zone of comfort, and you know, it's just. This is what I decided to do. Yeah. And I really appreciate, you know, the people that I've spoken to that are in the comedy business have been so nice and supportive. And so I kind of cornered you at the 4th of July.
It was fun.
Barbecue and picked your brain. And you know, how generous you are with your advice and support. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I would love to help you punch up any jokes. I told you I want to come to one of these functions because you have to speak at a lot of functions, I guess. And now, are they women's functions? Are they leadership functions? Like, and just to preface, so just so anybody's clear, and I'm not even sure, you are part of the partnership that owns the Lakers, or a chairperson? What is it?
Yeah, you know, it's the Lakers have been in my family since 1980, and you know, my father bought the team. I was 17 years old, and I have worked in the family business in different aspects. But really what my father intended was he wanted the team to stay in the family. And he passed away 5 years ago. And through a very conscientious effort on his part, he left the team in a trust that would be controlled or benefit his children, his 6 children. And so he had to designate who the person ultimately in charge was, because the NBA, through league rules, only will recognize one owner, one voice.
Wow.
That is the sole decision maker for the franchise. And so that's the position that I have. And what some people have heard about is, you know, a year ago I had to remove my brother, who was running our basketball operation at the time.
Okay.
And it was kind of an unusual circumstance because I had to use the authority that was given to me by my father to do that. And
people, pretty hectic.
Right. And people who are in family businesses can understand how difficult that is. But it was something that was really important to my father to keep the team in the family. And I couldn't see any progress as to how the basketball side was run. And so I brought Magic Johnson in to run the operation, and I think he's done a good job in the last 16, 17 months. And
is Magic just pretty fascinating? He must be just so charming, huh? Is it just immediate charm? What is it about him?
You know what? It's very interesting because he, you know, people kind of compare him with another Laker great, Kobe Bryant, and both equally successful in terms of winning championships. Each have won 5. But Magic had this big smile on his face.
Yeah, the charisma.
Always.
Oh, he smiled his way out of HIV, pretty much. It seems like, he smiled his way out. Yeah.
He is a natural leader with that kind of charisma. Yeah. But now that I'm with him in the boardroom and hearing him make strategy as to how we're putting our team together, he will continue to smile as he talks about dissecting the other teams in the league and cutting them apart. He will make you feel good, but he will beat you.
He likes it. He wants to win.
Yes.
And now, do you think that he always had this, because I'm a Magic fan, I don't think you could find, I never thought about this, I don't think you could find a person in the world that's probably not a fan of Magic Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just something about him. You almost, I mean, you remember what team he played for, the Lakers, but there's something about him that makes you feel good.
Well, he's a worldwide figure, and certainly Muhammad Ali was, beloved and stood really for so much in this world. And I would say that Magic has that same kind of persona, and he's revered all around the world.
That's fascinating. And so but his business acumen, is that something that he's learned?
He's like, he wanted to learn everything, even as starring for the Lakers and winning championships. He was wanting to know more about business, and he was like a sponge. He would go and he would pick the brains of all the smart people that he would meet, and most importantly, my father. And so when he and I are together, working, strategizing, we speak the same language because we were basically raised by the same man. My dad bought the team when I was 17. Magic came that same year at age 19. So we're basically the same age, and we learned at the hand of one of the greatest owners ever, most winningest owners, Dr. Jeanie Buss, my father.
Yeah. What's something that you miss about your father?
He used to, I was thinking about this, so this is the first thing on my mind. He used to sing, there's a song called I Dream of Jeanie with the light brown hair. He used to sing that to me all the time. And, nobody sings that song anymore. Nobody really even knows about that song, but that was his special song for me. I got to move my purse, sorry.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
So that was like a sweet thing that you guys had. He would sing that sometimes.
Yeah.
What was something like he would do, like even like a physical affection? Like I remember, like my father was 70 when I was born. My dad was very old, and I remember, like I didn't have like a lot of moments with him, but I remember like sometimes my dad would, and my mom never let him sleep in the bed, so he would just be out and about, basically just wandering around the house all night, and he'd sit in a chair or lay on the couch or something. And so sometimes I'd come in and like I'd sneak into the kitchen to get some milk or something, and he'd be over sitting in a chair, and he'd be like, "Come over here," and I wouldn't know he'd even be over there. It'd be in the dark kind of, and I'd go over, and he would just kind of like he would like kind of put his arm like on me or something, and then his breath would kind of smell like beer, like he had a couple beers, and we just spent so few moments together. But it's one of the moments I remember the best. It was like for me that was like a third of our relationship was me, like, anything else about your dad that was just kind of like a special thing that you guys would do, or a special moment that you remember even from any point in your life?
Well, going back to your dad, I love hearing the story about, I didn't realize not only was your dad an older father, but you guys, he had a bunch of kids. You guys
had a bunch of kids.
You're right. Like, so you had siblings.
Similar to Jerry then.
Yeah. You had like siblings. So
right.
like, it wasn't just like you by yourself with
Oh yeah. There were four of us running around. I remember my mom, she would get mad that my dad wouldn't spank us. Of course, he's 76 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't really have the physical acumen to be out there swinging paddles. So she would make him chase us around the house, right? Which is so easy to get away from a 76-year-old. Alarmingly easy. So what we would do is we would go under the bed, and then my dad would like get a belt, and he would like get down to the floor. It would take him 30 seconds to get down onto the floor, right? We'd be under the bed, like screaming like we were scared, but dying laughing. And then he would like stroll the belt under the bed, like try to swing it at us. And we would scream as if we'd been hit, even though we had not. We were literally covering our mouths to, like, just with laughter, We had to pretend like we were getting spanked. So my mom in the next room would be like, "Oh, they're getting spanked," and then she would cut him some slack,
That's so sweet.
It was, yeah, and it was sweet. It was like fun, We would pretend my brother would always tell me Dad's dead, and he would come in the room and Dad was just taking a nap. But like there was like a 50-50 chance every time, So you'd go in there and just see if Dad's dead. That was like a game we played. Like just ridiculous kind of growing up with an older dad. Did you guys ever do anything together? Like, did you guys ever just do some fun stuff that was just you and him? Because with 6 kids, it's probably hard to get time with just y'all two.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, it was just the 4 of us kids, and then he had 2 more kids later in life. But one story that I'll share with you is my dad had a big sweet tooth, loved candy. So on Halloween, we would get dressed up and we'd go trick or treating, and then we'd come back and he'd want to see all our candy, all the kids' candy. So everybody had to put the candy. So we'd go, okay, where did you get this Hershey bar? Because it'd be like the full size Hershey bar.
Wow, you must have been rich.
You're gonna change costumes and you're going back to that house to get another one. And so he would negotiate with us, and he told us there was this rule that, like, okay, you have to give Dad half your candy, which, I'm like, okay, 50-50, that seems fair. But then as the years went by, I went, wait a minute, you're getting half of 4 kids' candy.
Oh, you're getting 200% of candy.
Yeah. And I'm thinking I'm being fair. It's 50-50.
Yeah.
But he's getting that times 4. He's
business
just,
guy.
yeah.
He loved business.
Always got the best end of a deal, right?
Did he have other large aspirations that people didn't even know about, that only you guys knew about, kind of in the home? Like, and not to call him out or judge him or anything. Look, I think it's beautiful for us to, like, talk about our parents and, like, think about things that they wanted to do and stuff like that. I think, a father-daughter relationship or any parent-child relationship is special. But so when you were young, did he have an aspiration to own a team?
He always loved sports. His goal was to have enough money to afford season tickets to go to the Dodgers.
Wow.
Like, that would have been success in his eyes.
And he achieved it just kind of in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, he got his PhD at the age of 23. He was a physical chemist and worked for, the aerospace companies working on rocket ship fuel. And he really wanted to have kids, and he couldn't afford, on his salary, thinking about the family that he wanted to build. And so he decided to save a little money and buy an apartment building. And then he would be able to take that money and invest it. And as he met some of his fellow coworkers, they were all like, well, we want to invest too. So slowly but surely, they built this real estate empire, and it was like the, late 60s, early 70s in Southern California. And he ended up, his mathematical mind, he built most of the apartment buildings that you see in Santa Monica today. And any of them that are named after Monopoly property, that's what he would name the different buildings.
That's funny.
So there is a waterworks
Is there a Marvin
building.
Gardens or not?
I'm pretty sure there's a Marvin Gardens and a St. James Place and all those. So, he turned that into a fortune, and he bought a team in World Team Tennis, which that was back in the mid to late 70s.
Oh, wait, we talked about this, and it didn't pan out. It was like a traveling tennis competition or something, right?
Yeah, it didn't work. But the last year of the team, Chris Everett played on the team, and
the Strings or something.
The LA Strings, and they played at the Forum. And he noticed that at that time, Jack Kent Cooke owned the Lakers and the Kings, and he never went to any games. And so he did some research, and Cooke was going through a divorce at the time and moved to Nevada so that he could be a Nevada resident. And anyway,
and save money on taxes or no?
Yeah, or on the divorce. And so he started working on him to buy the Lakers and the Kings and the Forum, and that it was a 2-year process, and he was able to do it. So he really always loved sports. He chose to get his PhD from USC because of the football team. He thought they were the best team, and he just loved all kinds of sports, but
that's cool.
He really wanted the Lakers to be something Los Angeles could be proud of.
Was he such a bit? Because here's one thing I noticed about business, even as my own life gets busier, is that it takes up a lot of time, and it takes up a lot of responsibility, and you have to, start to be efficient and organize. And was he too busy? Like, my mother was a hard worker, right? We were basically raised by my mother, and she still works to this day. And so I never even got to really spend that much time with either of my parents. Really, my dad was too old and my mother had to work all the time. And so was he too busy? Was it hard to have a connection sometimes? Just because of business, it's busy.
That's why sports was the way we connected as a family. And so having that time together to go to the horse races or go to a Dodger game or go to a USC track meet or whatever it was, that's what we did as a family. And so I guess that kind of stays with me, knowing how important the Lakers are to the community and to families, because I can't tell you how many letters I've had from, a grandmother who says it's the only thing she can talk to with her 15-year-old grandson is the Lakers.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
how everybody makes time to be together to turn on a game and watch, especially in the playoffs. But we haven't been in the playoffs in 5 years, so hopefully this year we'll deliver on that.
Was it hard to come up? Was it kind of hard to have like your own identity, you think, growing up like in that environment once you guys had the Lakers at 17? Like, or did you just kind of grow in? Because I could imagine like if my family owned something that was, so big, that had such a life of its own, such an umbrella, would it be hard? Would I be scared that I had never kind of known if there was something else I wanted to get into? Did you ever have any thoughts like that?
Yeah, I mean, I always knew I wanted to be in the family business, but at the time when I was growing up, it was real estate development. So I always thought I would be in real estate, but really my motivation was always about growing a business with my family,
right?
No matter whatever it was. And I didn't always work for the Lakers. When my dad bought the team, he also bought the Forum. And when you own an arena and you have a hockey team and a basketball team, that's about 100 nights a year. Well, there's 250 other nights a year that you need something going on in a building. Well, my dad put me in charge of, he called it orphan sports, like all the sports that nobody really knew what to do. So I had
the
professional volleyball, I had tennis, I had...
What's something that came that we never even knew? That
roller hockey.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought...
And what is it?
When my dad says, I just bought you a team in Roller Hockey International, I'm like, no, please. And so I'm like, I had no idea what this was going to be. This is the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to have to go down to the beach and get inline skaters.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as you're saying that.
And like teach them how to play hockey. Mm-hmm. But as it turns out, it was the other way around. It was hockey players wanted to play roller hockey. And with the new equipment, everything was evolving so quickly that the hockey players learned how to make a hockey stop on inline skates.
Oh, wow.
Which was like to do the twist and and stop on a dime. And so the sport took off and all the kids were playing it and they were building indoor rinks, and even to the point where David Stern, who was the commissioner of the NBA at the time, called me and he said, what are you guys doing? These kids in rollerblades are taking over our basketball courts. Like he saw this as a movement.
A threat?
And, the first year we had 12 teams. By the second year, we had doubled in size. There was 24 teams. We had owners who owned NHL teams buying roller hockey teams. And the reason was that it would play during the summertime when arenas are dead.
Anybody could play. You don't have to have ice.
Right. You don't have ice, which is really expensive. And if you have dasher boards at your arena, you could play it. So it was the cheapest event to put on in the summertime. Hockey players needed something to do to earn money, especially the minor league ones, and stay in shape. And it was like a boom. But of course, as every minor league can tell you, you have owners who are over leveraged, don't know what they're doing. They own like a car dealership and they go, I can own a sports team. So they get into sports and they don't know what they're doing, lose a ton of money. And we couldn't sustain ourselves. So it folded after 8 years. And I was so disappointed because I really thought this was going to be the sport. that Americans could dominate in hockey. Like the best players
Finally
were
our chance to go against Canada.
Right. And so
street hockey.
Oh well, that was
anything else? Like what was it with her? I'm trying to think of a crazy sport. Like I remember being in love when I was younger with the roller derby.
Yeah, roller derby's cool.
Would that come over there over to the Forum? It seems like it's too small for
I just
Forum.
like how does roller derby, like how is it scored? Like how does it?
I don't know.
Like is it really a team? Like
I thought it was like the strong. Everybody seemed like a lesbian. I felt like if it was a male or female on there, everybody had the same sort of like. Everybody looked like Bebop or Rocksteady from the Ninja Turtles as two like kind of guys. But yeah, I don't know. There's no basket.
Right. I mean, is it going to ever be an Olympic sport? Like
I loved it though.
It was. It's still going on. There's still like roller derby in places.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
So you guys have, so how about this? Your fears, like going up with the stand-up comedy. So your fears, obviously you have some fear that people are going to think since you're Jeanie Buss because your name.
Right.
But to me, it doesn't seem like you like ride on your name. Like you seem separate from your name a little bit to me. And I don't,
that's nice.
because a name is a big thing sometimes, especially in LA, that the person sometimes can be a different.
I guess I'm a person that has to know, I didn't start at the top. Like I couldn't be at the top if I didn't know how everything else worked.
Right.
So I guess I'm a person who is curious and likes to, know how everything operates. And now I'm going to do stand-up comedy, which is really stupid.
I don't think that the people are going to judge you. Are you worried about that?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, because I don't think I'm funny, but I really appreciate people who are funny. So I guess it's like out of respect that I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But I really defer to really talented people.
But I think you're so charming that they're going to like you. So that is half of it. A lot of it is just as long as they like you, they'll listen to the set. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll listen to this person. I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Do you have any other kind of topics or realms you're going to talk about?
Yeah, like, because now I'm single. And so
And you dated a guy that worked at a car dealership. Did you tell me that?
No, it was actually a cellular company.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. A cellular phone guy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was...
Made me want to dust off my T-Mobile sidekick when I heard this. I was like, man, I'm going to have to...
Well, it's like, it's like I was in a long-term relationship with Phil Jackson, and, that's been over now for 2 years. And
did you think that would end?
I didn't think it was going to end, no. And, and so we were together since, 1999. Wow. And so it was really before like smartphones and dating apps and all that. So I'm like really behind on how to
getting back out there.
So like I was at my cellular company getting a new phone.
Literally, you're trying to get back out there.
And so, well, I know. I mean, I'm just getting.
No, but you're trying to get. But you're trying to get. Yeah, you're trying to get.
I was completely innocent, and so then the guy that was helping me, he gave me his card and he said, if you have any problems, just text me. So
by problems, he meant not having him in your life. It seems like.
But when by the time I got home, he sent me a text and how's the phone, everything. So I'm like, wait a minute. Oh yeah. Of course he has my number. And so then he asked me to dinner, and I
where did he take you?
Well, this is all by text, like,
right.
So like everything young people do is by text, like, and so, I got to get used to that. And so, with texting, you just don't really know how, it's awkward for me. So, I said, well, do you know how old I am? Because he's, in his 20s. And he goes, yeah, I know how old you are, and you're hot or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's a good answer. I said, well, do you have a girlfriend? He's like, no, I don't have a girlfriend. And I'm like, are you married? Just making sure.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And so I'm like, I think this isn't a good idea. And he's like, I'm not taking no for an answer. So
wow, so that's persistence. You respect that?
Yeah, I respected that because he was relentless. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to have dinner with him and tell him why I can't date him face to face because the texting isn't working.
Oh, I like that.
So
at least have dinner with me and tell me why you don't want to.
Right. Well, I just felt like I had to explain to him.
No, I love that,
like,
but I love
the
his
age difference is like it's not.
That's a great idea. If a woman rejects me in the future, I'm gonna be like, look, at least have dinner with me and tell me why you don't want to spend time with me. It's
right?
really a great idea.
That's a learning experience,
yeah.
Right. So so we made it. Plans to have dinner. And so then the next day he texted me and he said like, hey, I'm really sorry. Can we reschedule our dinner? Because I forgot it's my boy's birthday and, I can't miss it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't ask him if he has any kids.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, oh, back away. I don't need any like drama in, you
don't
like
want to
if
be
there's
on,
like
from Jerry Buss to Jerry Springer.
Like, the woman who's the mother of the kid is going to take me on.
Basketball wives are flashing through your head, I bet.
So I texted him and I figured, okay, well, yeah, let's just wait till after the holidays and, we'll get together. You should absolutely be there for your son's birthday. And then he texts me back and he goes, what makes you think I have a son? Well, he said, it's my boy's birthday.
Oh, he's just saying his boys.
It's my boy's birthday. Yeah. But like by text, I'm going, his son. Right? So I'm like, wait a minute.
So that's the exchange rate. So if he sends eggplant emojis, do you think he's thinking about vegetables? Like, what do you, like at this point, I wonder I can't even imagine how some of the exchange rate is lost there.
It's
but that's cute,
it's hard
though.
to meet people. So that I figured in my comedy that would be a lot of it because everybody's got the same problem, like finding a relationship, how to date, just all the different things that go on.
That's true.
Doesn't matter
good.
how old you are.
I like it.
Right.
No,
so that's my angle.
I like it. I think it's cool. It's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really hope you get through it. I want to come and watch.
Well, I'm thinking now of dating my stalker.
You are?
Yeah.
You have one? It's not the same guy, is it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, not that guy, not the cellular phone guy. No, it's like, and at least I'll know where he is all the time, right? Like,
yeah, at least he'll be right outside when you need him.
Right.
Yeah, in the garden.
Right? Like we have like the same taste in underwear, mine.
I like this.
I've got Nick laughing.
Yeah. And
he enjoys it.
And I'm sorry if I've been making you feel uncomfortable when I've been stalking. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
That's interesting. Is it after you got out of a relationship? So Phil Jackson's a coach, right?
Yes.
He's a coach.
Yes.
Were there other coaches that hit you up? I'm sure there's got to be some low key coaches out there.
No, I don't think I want to get involved with another coach.
Yeah. Are their lives? Have you noticed a change in the value of a coach to a team over the years? Like, did a coach used to have more power and prowess and be looked up to differently?
That's a very interesting question because, you have kind of like a power struggle between, say, the front office who are in charge of getting players to be on the team for the coach who has to coach them and, make the team successful. So if the front office doesn't want the coach to succeed, it's really easy to give him players that don't fit his system.
Oh, really? That can happen a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, it does happen. And that's why San Antonio isn't interesting because of the success that they've had. And you have a coach who's very vocal in terms of the player personnel.
Right.
So he really gets the players that he wants on his team, and of course he's the longest tenured coach.
Popovich, right?
Yeah.
Now, but so is he having issues with his front office right now?
No, not at all.
Right.
But it's how you're set up as a team, and making sure like one of the things that I wasn't happy about with our team in the last few years is that we had a really good coach by the name of Mike Brown, who's a defensive minded coach. And so
he coached the Cavaliers for a long time, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. And now he's with Golden State working with Steve Kerr. But he was our head coach, and that's fine, a defensive-minded coach. Then the front office got Steve Nash, and Steve Nash is like a very offensive guy. So his style didn't fit what Mike Brown wanted to do. So then Mike Brown got replaced with Mike D'Antoni, who is another great coach. He's in Houston now, but he's a very offensive-minded coach. And so when you change coaches that quickly, your roster can't change as quickly.
Right.
And so players that we had, like a Dwight Howard, really wasn't going to fit into what a Coach D'Antoni style of play that he would want to play. So it's really just like you have to, as an organization, you have to decide who you want to be as a basketball team, the style of play that you're going to play. And once you decide that, then every decision has to go back to that overlying premise of like who we are. So every player you draft, the players you draft for, the players that you trade away, you've got to, it has to be a cohesive, every decision
has to be all for that top.
Right.
For that top piece. Now, do you feel like there's difference, like, do coaches still have as much control over teams as they used to, or is it more, it seems like we're in such this me time where everybody, is there as much power for a coach now? There are very powerful coaches in the league, and those are the ones who have success. And when you're a coach, you have to be stubborn, and you have to believe in what you're doing. And if ownership and the front office don't agree, you have to stand for your principles, and you'll probably get fired. But that's why coaches get hired and fired, the probably more often than front office people. Have you had some crazy experiences? Have you had any experiences where, like, I'm sure some coaches tried to woo you or do something wild for the organization to get that job? Like, was there ever anything like that?
That's interesting. No, I think, I think coaches, kind of, well, I guess the Laker job is a great job, but we have a coach that I could see being our coach for a long time to come, Luke Walton, who, has, really has a really great ability to connect with players, throughout their career. He works well with the young players. He works well with the veterans, and he is a winner, and he is a great motivator. And I think he's somebody, like I said, that I think will be successful with going forward.
When you guys you have LeBron James in now, and so that's so wild. It's such a huge. It's huge on so many levels. Was there any talk of Kobe coming back to play with him?
Kobe knows that anytime he wants to come and do anything for the organization, he's more than welcome. He was somebody that I leaned on in the last couple years in terms of, just picking his brain. He might be one of the best strategists I've ever spoken to. Yes. And, his ability to dissect to the smallest detail, but also see the bigger picture and take the camera back and really take in the whole situation. He's a valuable resource to me, and somebody that is someone I admire, respect both on and off the court.
He's a hard worker.
He's a hard worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the hardest. Do you think he's one of the hardest working players that ever played for the Lakers?
Yeah. I mean, when you have a guy that is, a veteran with that kind of success, being the first one to practice every day, that sets the bar. everybody else, how can the best player on the team be here before you? You got to work harder. I mean, he just brought that kind of element to the team.
Did it seem like, just as a regular fan, it seemed like he's like at the end, it just seemed like there was he took so much of the money and the business that there was no money for anybody else.
That's not fair to look at it that way. That everybody.
And that's an unknowledgeable fan saying this.
And then I'm happy to have the opportunity to kind of fill in. So you see the whole picture. But
yes.
It's, in the NBA, we have a salary cap, which everybody hears about, but we also have a salary floor. There's a minimum amount you have to spend, and it's not that big of a difference between. So somebody's going to get the money.
Right.
And so really, Kobe, for the amount of weight on the team that he pulled,
right.
He deserved that money.
Right.
So I have no problem with that.
Would you be shocked if Kobe came back to play with LeBron?
I mean, I think his wife would,
his wife would be shocked?
She would be mad at me, but it's like, Kobe has to do what's in Kobe's journey, and I couldn't twist his arm to do it, but if he wanted to, I would make sure it happened. It's really up to him. And we retired both his numbers last year in a ceremony that was difficult for me because he's somebody that I don't think I can ever completely show my gratitude.
Really?
To. Yeah. I mean, he really one of the biggest influences on my life and, what he means to the Lakers. And, I kind of, it was hard for him. He didn't want to go through that kind of ceremony. He never really liked that kind of attention. He loved playing basketball. He loved winning basketball games, but doing all the other stuff was, that's just not his style.
Wow. Do you feel like if there was another job that Kobe got into, what would it be outside of sports?
Well, he is an Oscar-winning film producer now. After his movie, his short film was nominated, he won in that category. And so I see him as a storyteller, as a creative person who can bring things to life, because the way he could break down detail and kind of absorb what was happening. I mean, there's stories about how he would study, cheetahs and how cheetahs would,
move,
stalk their prey,
wow.
and how they would move and how they use their tail as balance. And, I mean, it's like that's an intricate mind that, can capture and express and explain things in an interesting way.
Do you did you feel like royalty? You must have, since you were 17, it must have been interesting growing up along this basketball timeline that just came into your life, this whole sports timeline. How do you manage dealing with ego and stuff like that and staying out of that sort of thing? Because a lot of people deal with that. I mean, the ego can be the downfall of so many people, and it's amazing that the downfall of so many great things happening outside of us is inside of us.
Yeah. But sometimes that is what makes a great athlete may not make a great husband. The ability to focus and be driven and be of single mind competition, may mean that he's not a good partner for his spouse or girlfriend or whatever. So I mean, I'm not going to say that you have to be a completely well-balanced person, because you probably wouldn't be the number one tennis player in the world if you
right.
went to everybody's birthday and showed up at graduations of all your
that's
cousins,
a good point.
Right? So
that's a really good point.
It comes with it's choice, it's sacrifice, and I believe that in the NBA, for example, we have 450 of the best basketball players in the world, and they have given up a lot
to be that.
And that's why, for me, I always try to embrace the families, the parents, the spouses, the children of our players, because they're the ones who sacrifice the most.
Oh, wow.
To allow their loved one to be
in
great.
that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what cost there is that people don't realize. It's amazing the other side of the teeter-totter that you don't see.
Right.
You don't see like the FaceTime calls with the family, that kind of stuff. Right. That's just, and that's
getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working out and not ever missing, a practice or a game, or getting back on an airplane after, a double overtime game. It's your ego has to be pretty strong because you keep pushing yourself to the point, of where most people just say, I'm out. It's too much for me. I want to stay home tonight.
What were some of your favorite years like that you had over the years when you thought that the NBA was just, obviously it's at a great level right now. It's exciting. Was it a blast? Like, when was it a blast?
Well, the 80s was great. Yeah. And, we're working on a docuseries about the Showtime, that 80s era.
That Showtime magic, and who else?
And
Kareem, those guys?
Yeah, Kareem.
James Worthy?
Yep.
I loved Worthy. Everybody loved him, huh?
Yeah.
I saw him one time. The only game I ever went to for the Lakers was when Kobe scored 81 points. It's the only game I've ever been to in my whole life. And I shared like a bowl of peanuts in like some fancy club lounge. It was for players only, I think. And then I got a picture of Chris next to Chris Rock by the bathroom. And he was not happy about it. And I made his wife take it. He asked his wife to take it and didn't make her do anything. This isn't a Me Too.
That game, that 81-point game, I think I always point out to people that the Lakers were down at halftime by 20 points.
Oh, wow.
And that Kobe had to score 81 points in order for us to win that game.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
It wasn't just a blowout game where he was messing around, like, can I make this shot? He single-handedly won that game, brought us back, and made us win that game.
Wow.
And that's the
that was
kind
against
of
Toronto,
person.
Right?
Yep, Toronto, and Jalen Rose still talks about it.
I bet.
They were just in shock.
Just a couple weeks before that, he scored 63 against Dallas in 3 quarters, and they sat him for the whole 4th quarter. And he could have did it then, but they didn't need it.
Exactly. I got in a fight with Phil that night because I said, "Why'd you take him out? He could have gotten, And he said, because we were going to win the game. That's ridiculous. You don't risk your player, when you're, because Phil was always about winning the game, not about individual achievements.
Right. He thought more about the win.
Right. But that 81-point game, he had to keep Kobe in every minute because
he needed the win.
Exactly.
Do you still communicate with Phil? You guys still close?
We're still close. He's had such an influence on me. And
what's he like? What's something that people don't know about him? What we see as a regular consumer, I consider myself a basic adult male, and so it seemed like he's tall. Is it hard to love somebody that's tall? That seems hard. I feel like.
He is tall. He stands out wherever he goes. But he really taught me the other side of the game. I knew the business side, but I really understood the wear and tear on the players, what he was trying to create with his team. Like we got in a fight because he made the players practice on Thanksgiving. And I said, come on, can't you give them one day off so that they can be at home with their families? And he said, first of all, he goes, they're home in plenty of time to have Thanksgiving dinner with their families. He said, I bring them in to practice because they have to learn that this team is their family. And that they need to be together on holidays too. Wow. And so he really taught me that aspect of you've got to instill in these players that they have each other's back. Yeah. And that they will sacrifice, everything for each other. And that's really what makes a strong team. And really in basketball, more than any other sport, if you keep your core players together, you can have a dynasty like what we're seeing in Golden State right now. Is they have this core group of guys that are together, and they might switch out a couple players here and there, but that group they are devoted to each other. They love each other, and they will go
to any lengths.
They want to be in the trenches with each other.
What was something else like? What was something? Was it just time? I mean, that's a long relationship you guys had from '99.
Yeah. It just. He took a job in New York, running the New York Knicks. And, we knew that was going to be a challenge for us to be apart. And things just didn't go the right way. And our relationship fell apart just by long distance, which happens to many, many people. So, it's a tough business to be in because it's so demanding. And it worked while we were working with the same team. But once we were on opposite coasts, it was just too difficult to overcome. And
was it the best relationship that you've ever had, you think?
Definitely the most influential on my life, but we never got married. I wanted to get married early on. He finally proposed after 12 years and then took the job in New York. And so we never did get married. But I love him. Like I said, he's had such an influence on me and taking on the game in a holistic approach, the whole team, the whole person, the entire player is the organism of what you're trying to build. He loves to coach.
He loves it.
He loves it, and he's good at it. And when you're asking me what like the worst time of my career was probably in the 90s, because the Chicago Bulls dominated the entire league. And it was just so frustrating because Magic had to retire in 1991 because of the HIV diagnosis. And, so we lost Magic.
They should have let him play in a suit. That guy was good enough to play in like that, And didn't they try for a season or two?
Yeah, he did kind of come back, but he.
So they made him retire. So that was, and that would have been the piece that maybe could have had you guys contend better.
Right, exactly. So he retired too soon. We weren't ready for that. So the organization went through 5 or 6 years of just a drought. Only missed the playoffs once in that year.
Yeah. And
then Shaquille O'Neal came in 1996, as well as a rookie by the name of Kobe Bryant.
And that changed things.
For us. And then Michael Jordan retired, which was helpful.
And that changed things for the whole league.
You're right.
How great was Michael Jordan? Was it just something different to watch?
I'd ask Phil, how is Michael different than Kobe, different than LeBron? And, all different players, he's never coached LeBron, but he would talk about LeBron's just physical power,
right?
That there is no stopping him,
it almost seems like a cheat code in one of those games. It's like,
exactly.
Oh, you got a special code.
Exactly.
His shoulders are like human heads.
He's come into practice a couple times, and I never really paid attention to LeBron. I watch games on TV, but they'd come here once a year,
right.
and so watching him and his footwork and his work, just what he does, and just in practice, that man is really phenomenal. I'm so excited for Laker fans that he's on our team and that we get to watch this just great player in the prime of his career, come and play for us.
Can you even answer this question that Michael, you think was maybe the best player ever?
Michael, definitely. Here's the thing is you get in these debates and arguments, and Michael won 6 championships, never lost in a final. If he was in a final, he won, right?
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Magic lost, I think 2 finals. Or no, he lost 4 finals. Magic was in 9 finals and won 5. Wow. because Larry Bird, was
Yeah.
beating us. And then Kobe was in 7 finals and won 5. So I don't know. Does that make Michael better because he won 6, because he was undefeated
What was
in
the
the finals?
feeling like though? Like the vibe, like what? I mean, because you got to see
Mm-hmm.
some of this. I mean, I know you were, at different ages when these things have occurred, but like, I mean, that Michael fever was it was something
It
different.
was like Elvis. When he came to town, like tickets, the ticket brokers, it was like the Beatles, at the height of their popularity, screaming fans, just wanting to see him.
Yeah.
Like he was like nothing I've ever seen in terms of his stardom.
And stardom was different then. And I was just thinking about this yesterday. That fame was different then. It was like, it's not the same now. Like everybody can be a little bit famous. I was actually this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. You know that is Gary V or whatever. He's like a fancy speaker. He's like a business
Oh yeah,
guy.
I have seen that guy.
So I was working at this conference with him this weekend, and he was talking about how, like in the past, everybody would be famous for 15 minutes of fame, but now everybody's famous to 15 people. That's kind of like, it was just some equation that he made, But it's like, yeah, everybody's like a little bit famous now, it seems like. Fame is different. So Michael had it at a time when that was almost like the height of fame in some ways, at that moment. It was before like social media had taken over and before everybody had like a way to get their picture and their headshot out there. It was like, it had to be unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spike Lee helped that with, kind of, directing those Nike commercials.
Oh, yeah,
like
they
it's
had
got to be
that.
the shoes. It's got to be the shoes, right?
Spike Lee hasn't done anything since then. Nobody's had more success just by buying Knicks tickets and wearing huge sunglasses than Spike Lee. That guy.
I like Spike, and
Yeah.
and so now Michael Jordan is the owner of the Charlotte Hornets, and so now I've gotten to know him as another governor of a team in the boardroom, and he is brilliant. And he is well-spoken and thoughtful. And, now he's one of my favorite people. But
really?
in the 90s, I was
No.
like, oh, not that guy.
Not a chance.
Oh, it drove me. When people would call me and say, can you help me get tickets to see Michael Jordan? I'm like, hello, you're calling. We're the Lakers. If you call me and say, just pretend you want to see the Lakers. But he just made people go cuckoo.
Yeah.
And he did thrill. He could definitely play the game, but now he's a leader amongst our ownership group.
Yeah. Did AJ Green ever lose his virginity? What was that guy's name? AC Green. Remember that guy? That was like one of the big stories I remember as a kid. Like AC Green's still staying a virgin. Do you know if he ever lost his virginity?
He was married, I think. So I'm not sure. I can't vouch for any
Right.
of that, but
We have to ask his wife then, probably, or ex-wife. Hopefully, wife still. Do you think there's like another piece coming to the Lakers that we don't know about, kind of?
I think that Magic's not going to rest until we're proud.
Wow.
So
How much would y'all love to have Anthony Davis?
I can't talk about any player on any other team.
Well, I'm a Pelicans fan. That's the only reason I asked.
I'm not even going to acknowledge your comment.
How about this? Anthony Davis seems like a really neat player.
I'm not going to comment on any of your comments.
Oh. This past weekend is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare, it's an online learning platform with over 20,000 classes in business, design, technology, and more. If you've been thinking about taking a class, you need to evolve in some area in order to get your business sense where it needs to be to move forward. You can do that via Skillshare. You can take classes in social media marketing, data science, mobile photography, creative writing, you name it, they've got it. So whatever you're trying to deepen your professional skill set, you got to get that skill set deep. And you can do that. You want to start a side hustle, or if you just want to explore a new passion, Skillshare is there to keep you learning and thriving. Join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for my listeners. Get 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents. That's right. Skillshare is offering this past weekend listeners 2 months of unlimited access to over 20,000 classes for just 99 cents. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/Theo, Theo. Again, go to Skillshare.com/Theo to start your 2 months right now. That's Skillshare.com/Theo. What else do I want to think about? So let's get back to the comedy then. Do you feel like you'll actually go through with the class? Because I have this feeling that you're only going to take the first class and not finish the course.
Why do you think that?
I don't know why. I just kind of got this vibe.
It's really painful for me. It's really hard to get up in front of a group of people. And
when you get up there in front of people, what do you think? Like what? Like why?
Here's my thing. Where are you supposed to look?
Right.
Do you look out in the horizon and at no one particular, or do you like try to make eye contact? Like, well, who do you look at?
I think you look at people. You look at people and you try and look at like happy people that seem like they're enjoying themselves. And then later, for me, I find anyway, now I look out and it's just it's more of like a performance sometimes.
Right.
Than it is sometimes like a connection. But with you, I don't like to give advice, but I would suggest a suggestion. What I would used to do, or what I would do is try and connect, try and connect to somebody.
But see, like that, like then I get thrown off if they're like on their phone,
right, doing
or
something,
making
if
a
they're
face,
right.
or, and it has nothing to do with me. But then I get rattled.
Right, you get rattled out of your words. Yeah, it's hard to remember something and say it at the same time. But with speeches and stuff, what do you like? Or like, what kind of stuff are you talking about? Leadership, that sort of thing. Like, are you giving a lot of or just like team updates, like city function, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. And I that's why I hesitate to agree to speak. But, they asked me to come to schools, and I think it's important for women to see a woman in a position of power that is having success, because I know that inspired me.
Yeah.
That I looked at the role models and everything about them, how they handled themselves, what they stood for, how they ran their lives, and the choices that they made, because there just wasn't that many.
There weren't that many
women doing it, right? And things
have gotten so diverse now. It really has. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, I remember, even growing up, you didn't even see like a lot of black wealth when I was young. You saw I remember thinking like the people on the movie Coming to America and the Dallas Cowboys were like the only like wealthy African Americans in America, kind of. But now, like, you go to Atlanta, you go to some cities, and there's a lot of like African American wealth. There's a lot of black wealth. It's like things are definitely changing. I'm sure. As you guys' fan base, you guys have so many Latino fans. You guys probably have. You guys in San Antonio, just by sheer location, even have so many. I get amazed at how, because we have a lot of Latino listeners, like how many are like they love the Lakers. They love the Dodgers. Like, it's just a sense of like pride, like a city pride. Have you guys tried to get like more Latino players? But has that ever been like and I know there's not that many.
I mean, for us, we, Pau Gasol, but, he was European from Spain but, could speak Spanish. Kobe speaks fluent Spanish. So
that's right. He speaks Japanese too. Didn't someone say that?
It's crazy.
Right.
Italian, Spanish, and, could do full interviews in another language.
Oh,
Do you know how hard that is?
Yeah.
So I think we've always been represented well, and
I don't think the fans care.
Right.
I think it would be neat. Like, I wonder if maybe the fans wouldn't even care about championing a guy that's, from,
I think the point is like, we're Laker fans first.
Right.
Like, it's like, we want the best players for our team. We want a winning team.
Yeah.
And everybody, it doesn't matter, what language you speak or,
where you're from.
It's right. It's like we are connected by our love of the purple and gold.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Laker fans, because we have the best fans in the NBA in sports, I think, because they've been patient and they've, they trust Magic Johnson to put together a great team, and they've been there for us, and that's who we do the work for. That's who we want to be proud of their team.
Yeah. Is there a player over the years you guys tried so hard to get and you weren't able to get?
I think, I don't want to like.
And they can be retired now.
But they can be retired. Yeah, it might hurt some feelings.
Okay,
that's all.
Yeah, no worries. I respect that. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't watch a ton of basketball. I started getting more into it with the Pelicans whenever they got Anthony Davis, and he's just been so exciting to watch. And then, but we had like the Hornets, and then they gave them up, and then they went to Oklahoma City. So it's been kind of a little bit of a rocky time. Did you ever, did you guys have Pistol Pete that played out here?
No, he didn't play, but he played for New Orleans.
Right.
And, now New Orleans, the owner who owned the Saints and the Pelicans,
Benson.
passed away, and he left the team to his wife,
Gail.
So
right.
now we have another female owner, and I couldn't be more proud of her. It's difficult when you lose somebody that's so revered with a team in a market like my dad was, and she really this team is something that's important to her, and I admire her.
That's cool. Do you have do you feel like do you feel a responsibility then as like a female owner? Yeah,
I mean, I think that I've been involved in so many leagues, going back to roller hockey and all those, indoor soccer and arena football.
It was all kind of prepping you for this in a weird way. Did you realize that at the time, or you didn't?
My dad did. I didn't. I couldn't see past it, but I thought it was a punishment. No. But certainly I know how you're only as good in a league as your weakest team, and so you have to do things sometimes that maybe not be best for your individual team, but for the health of the entire league. Because when the league is healthy, then the players prosper and the teams prosper, and truly I think of any league, we have the best partnership between our players, that we acknowledge that how important they are the product,
right,
and that they are our partners in this, and
like the Players Association and stuff.
Great
relationship.
And we have players who can stand up for what they believe in, and we have the head of the Players Association is Chris Paul, and I thought the way he when he was with the Clippers and head of the union and that situation, he handled it so well.
Really well.
And, I think that, our league is works well with the Players Association, which is the head of the association is Michelle Roberts. And so working with her is, she's the first woman to ever run a male professional league association.
It's exciting.
It's cool. I'm very proud.
Do you feel like a lot of people think like that the league is too lopsided right now? Do you worry about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always concerned about
like all the good players are in California.
Well, I mean, I think I think what our league has proven is that you don't have to be a major market to win a championship. And, you have teams like San Antonio that, can win championships. And then you have Oklahoma City, New Orleans was in the playoffs. The Lakers weren't last year. So
that's a good point.
So I think it's the parity. It isn't all, the Knicks haven't been in the playoffs for a long time as well. So it doesn't just automatically mean, big city,
right,
playoff success.
When so future dating. So how are you dating these days? Are you dating on apps?
No, I haven't done that.
Really?
Like I said, I think I'm going to date my stalker just because it's easy. No, people get upset when I say stuff like that.
Do you have a certain type or no?
It's like I'm trying to be funny, I have no. It's really it's like I'm married to my job. How's that? I'm married to, I haven't. Have you? What is this belt here?
I just got voted like guest of the year for like a podcast called Fighter and the Kid, and so I beat out like a bunch of like big shots, like really famous guys.
Did you have to fight to get this?
I mean, emotionally, I did. You just had to go on their podcast and be like the best guest. So the fans voted me like the best guest.
Wow.
So it was awesome.
To listen to this.
It was cool. Yeah, it was pretty fun. And those guys have a great podcast called Fighter and the Kid. So
wow. Well, I see this belt and it reminds me. I do have a passion project that I can talk about. It's the WOW Women of Wrestling.
Oh, really?
And so my partner was one of the original founders of the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Glow.
Right.
So I used to probably just not wear much and watch that, when I was young. I used to like that.
So we're starting our live matches in October in LA.
And it's women's wrestling?
And it's women's wrestling. And it's what I love about it is that it's character driven. I
like that.
We have good versus evil.
Yeah.
And the performers.
Are you going to wrestle?
No, I'm not going to wrestle. But, I was in high school when Title IX was passed, and Title IX opened up a lot of opportunities for female athletes. So we have now this generation of great female athletes who have earned scholarships to perform at a collegiate level in whatever sport, field hockey, volleyball. And there's not a lot of places, unless you're a basketball player or tennis player, or figure skater,
for them to go afterwards.
Yeah, that you can earn a living after years of dedicating to your athletic ability and training. And so I thought that it was the right time to bring back the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, but now under the name Women of Wrestling. And it's about female empowerment. It's about these great performer athletes to have a chance to earn a living.
Have you already chosen some of the wrestlers?
Yeah,
really?
we do. I think one of my favorite wrestlers, Jungle Girl, and she's as strong as any person that I've ever watched. We have a character, Chloe Hertz, that.
After the Hertz Rent-A-Car Company?
No, it's like HURTZ. And
like she hurts people?
Yeah, and there's Jungle Girl, and then there's Chloe Hertz, who there she is on the right.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she likes to call herself the all-natural.
Wow. I would she seemed like a nice girl.
Yeah. She is she's good. And it's fun. It's a little campy. It's
good.
But these girls are unbelievable athletes, and they really deserve a platform to shine. And I'm really excited to be part of it.
I almost lost my mind. I was in the airport 2 days ago and I saw Simone Augustus, who was in the WNBA, and I saw Leslie Knowles, and both of them played at LSU. I believe, I could be wrong about one of them, but they had their whole team in there. The whole team was sitting in, and I was trying not to mill around. But Simone played at LSU, and so I'm just such a big fan. And it's also a bummer living in Los Angeles because I'll see purple and gold, and I think it's for Louisiana State.
Oh, right.
And it's always for the Lakers. I'll be so excited. There's a group of people walking across the street. I'm like, you guys like Louisiana? And they're like, no, we like the Lakers, bro.
You both like LA?
Yeah. I had one other question. Nick, do we have call-in questions that came in?
Yeah, we have a couple. Will I pull them up? What happened with the Chris Paul trade when that got blocked? Because it seemed like it was because of competition, but if you look at what Golden State's doing, like Theo brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an explanation if you guys.
Yeah, I'd love to know an explanation because that was from New Orleans, right? Or was that from the Clippers? Yeah. That was from New Orleans.
New Orleans.
We got him stolen, and we got a guy who seems like a nice man, but also only has one good leg. Onward. I don't remember the guy's name. He's a nice guy, but something happened to his leg right when we got him.
Well, with Chris Paul, what happened was the NBA was running that team. That the owner of the team at the time turned it over to the league, and the league operated it from an arm's length position. And at that time, we were in a lockout with the union, and all the owners, we had made a deal with the union, and the owners had all flown in to ratify that agreement. And so when all the owners are in a room, you really can't accomplish a trade because the owners are occupied with this conversation, this meeting that's going on, except my father didn't make the trip because that was the beginning of his illness. And so he was back in LA, and the NBA was running the New Orleans team. And so they had authorized the general manager of that team to run the team without having to run everything by the commissioner or whatever. It was like kind of an arm's length thing. So like a deal was
that Dell Demps or no, it wasn't him yet?
Yeah, it was Dell Demps. And so they made a deal, and it was in the commissioner's opinion not something that he would have approved.
I see.
But it was kind of like, well, you've given the authority for him to make a deal, and so it kind of it was just bad timing.
Right.
That's all. And had it
Wow.
not been while everybody, because now the owners think something's going on behind their back, because
I see.
if Chris Paul was going to be traded, they would all want an opportunity to negotiate that. And they didn't get that opportunity, which made them feel like something not right was going on. And so I think it was just, so he vetoed it just to like calm things down. And then as soon as that happened, then we traded the players, Lamar Odom and I forget who else was in the trade. So then
To who?
To Dallas.
Oh, yeah,
to
that's
Lamar.
right.
And so now we broke up the assets that were trying to
part
make
of
the
it,
trade.
and so it
Right.
didn't happen.
So then we didn't have it. And so then we didn't have the pieces that we needed. And they went ahead and traded them to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Eric Gordon. That's whose leg didn't work.
Yeah, Eric Gordon. Yeah, nice guy, but he was good for us. It just wasn't the same, though. And then we lost Chris Paul, and we had just made the playoffs. We made it to like the second round. We had David West. That team was doing pretty snazzy. And then after that, everything fell apart. Is that a ring? Is that a championship ring?
Yeah, I would purposely wear it today.
You did? Can I wear it for a second?
It's like the girl size one, so you can't like.
I have
The
lean
man
fingers.
one is like a
How big is the man
napkin
one?
ring.
Yeah, I don't wear really
Oh,
big.
that looks good on you. Actually, that's a good
No,
size.
let's don't say that out loud.
It does.
It does kind of.
Are we
huh?
married now?
I don't know. We might
it on
be.
your ring
This is the
finger.
first woman that ever put a ring on me, for sure. Have you been married?
I was married once to a volleyball player.
Really?
Yeah,
It's a fun sport.
yeah. Back in the late '80s, early '90s.
Would you get married again? You think?
I would like to get married again, but I just haven't been lucky. It's like it's hard. It's hard. My career makes it really hard for me to be available.
But does it actually, at this point, does it make it hard for you to be available, or do you make more career so that you're unavailable?
It's difficult for me to say because
Right.
I had one relationship after Phil that didn't work out, and I put a lot of blame on just what I was dealing with in my business, and
Is it really stressful with business? Is it?
it's demanding.
Yes.
And it's you have to react in real time. You can't say, "Hey, it's the weekend, don't bother me."
Right.
If there's a problem, you have to be available.
And who do you have and you have a group, obviously a board and stuff. You have magic. You have people you can go to
Yes.
to work together to come up with ideas and the next move.
Yeah, and it's these teams are now worth in the billions of dollars, and they're worldwide known, but we've got like 120 employees. We're a small company,
Wow.
but with this worldwide exposure, and we're the most popular team in the world in terms of our Facebook and
Really?
social media following, right? Which is part of a valuation of how you look at the value of a company now. Yeah.
Do you miss some of the old days when things seemed a little smaller in some ways? Not in a bad way, but was there something different about it?
It was definitely, you never knew. I mean, back when my dad first bought the team, you didn't know if a team was going to miss an airplane because they flew commercial.
Right.
They missed an airplane. You might not have a game that night. What are you
Right.
going to do? And I mean, just the kind of how far we've come in terms of the professionalism of putting on a game. And but I couldn't be more proud of our commissioner, Adam Silver, and
Yeah.
how he's been at the forefront of so many important decisions, and now embracing the gaming issue, which for a long time was kind of a fear of teams in terms of what
mean gambling and stuff?
Yeah, what that would mean to the integrity of the game.
Like the fantasy aspect, or
Not so much the fantasy,
Just
but
betting on the games
Yeah,
and stuff.
I mean, we see a future where it's going to be, people gambling in real time, gaming, on their phones, and it makes the outcome of game even that much
more valuable?
interesting and people more invested than they already are. And I think it's just an evolving thing. It's going to happen. It's happened in Europe already, and it's going to come here. But Adam was kind of on the forefront of that, and instead of fighting against the inevitable, he's talking about how the right way to approach it, the right way to hold on to our integrity, our transparency, so that people, there is no opportunity for things to go offline or,
I romanticize a lot of things. Sometimes I like the, I like to, sometimes in my mind, I guess my heart infects my mind too much, and my thoughts and my memories even, and I want to keep just things a certain way, and it's hard sometimes to just keep moving with the punches, to just know that things are going to change, and you can't hold on to a way that you can remember it, but you can't really hold too close onto it because things are going to change.
That's very melancholy.
Faster than ever. Yeah, is it?
It makes me a little sad.
Does it?
Yeah, I'm thinking of you down in the bayou and like the, like the fireflies. Oh no, wait, that's a ride at Disneyland. Wait a minute.
Right on. Yeah, what ride is that? Is that Brer Rabbit?
When you go, have you ever been to that restaurant where it's like near the Pirates of the Caribbean? And you have to go sometime. It's a secret place.
Really? Oh yeah, us regular people don't get invited to that. You'll have to take me over there. I would go. Jeanie Buss, thank you so much. Let's get to a couple of calls, right, that came in.
Hey,
we need headphones.
Oh.
I can maybe just turn it up and you can hear it from the headphone.
Oh, we can just put them on. Is that
All
okay, Jeanie? Or that's fine. Yeah, you can just, whatever works.
I'm not good at these.
Yeah, those are a little bit alarming.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Theo, this is Joey from Ventura. I saw you a couple weeks back in Oxnard. Killed it, man. Hey, question for Jeanie from Lakers Nation. When you pose for Playboy,
Ooh.
what did Dr. Buss think of that? Anyway, I love the show, Theo. Gang, gang.
Ooh, wow. And we'll leave them on for this part.
Okay. Yeah. Like
I haven't seen some of this. Can we bring these images up, or is this going to be really awkward?
No, you can bring them up.
Yeah, let's bring them up, bro. I mean, this seems like a professional. It seemed like,
This is going to be part of my comedy.
Okay,
so I
good.
can give you some.
This is perfect.
But actually, when
Bring them up in high def if you don't mind, brother. See what they have.
and I talk about challenging myself to, do things that are
Jeanie Buss,
out of my comfort zone. And this was definitely one of those things. It was after my first marriage ended, and I decided, okay, what are some of the things that I would do if I was single? And this was one of them. And so I was like any other model who was in the magazine. I had to go to a test photo shoot. Mm-hmm. Never told my dad about it. I went through all the, test photos, and So it is a little disconcerting to see the pictures as I'm talking about it.
Is it now?
And
Click through them a little bit, Nick, if you don't mind.
so
I can listen and think at the same time.
yeah, so I was approved, did the photo shoot. Then I told my dad that it was coming out, and my dad, so brilliant, had the greatest quote ever, which was, "It will be the first issue of Playboy magazine I've never read."
Wow.
So he endorses the magazine, but he,
But
it's his daughter.
Unendorses his daughter,
Right.
seeing his daughter nude.
Right. And so, I didn't read Playboy or,
Right.
and I didn't really realize like how hairstyles change and hairstyles change.
Oh yeah, I can see this.
You
It's
know,
kind of Jeanie Buss a little bit.
Yeah,
here in
that's
some of
exactly.
these.
Yes, exactly.
But it's also kind of the times. I remember some of these magazines and stuff, and you would see, and it just had more of a natural kind of vibe to it. But so they didn't like. Did they tell you have to shave or anything like
No,
that?
they didn't tell me anything. They, it was. I thought like I would, the first time that I would,
Were you
take
nervous?
off. I was so nervous, and I thought it was like this is just going to be like, oh my god, and like nobody cared. They're like doing their work. They're like fixing the lights, and then
There's a guy crying on the phone to his wife. Just normal activity, right?
yeah, it was like the only person who was hung up on it was me.
You. Who'd you take with you to the shoot?
I just did it myself. It was
Really?
yeah. And so
At what age is this at, Jeannie?
I was 32 when I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what kind of 32-year-old what's on my to-do list today? I have to hit the grocery. I have to check on AC Green's virginity. Whoa, what else are we looking at here, Nick?
Second page of Google image search.
No, it's funny because when the Lakers
Jesus Christ,
went
Nick.
to the when we went to the White House when Obama was president, and we all got to meet him in the green room before we went out to do the presentation, and so I introduced myself to him, and he said, "I know who you are," and I felt so like self-conscious, like he'd seen me in Playboy, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Do you think? And is that the vibe you got? That you thought that it was? It's okay. He's the president. He deserves to look at Playboy.
And I have people now that come up to me and they said that you were the first naked person I've ever seen.
Wow.
And now mind you, I did this in the early 90s before the internet really was
Right.
So these
yeah.
pictures are with me forever. And
So going back, do you think you would have kind of had a different hairstyle? You think, or it doesn't matter really?
I would have been more like racing strip or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
something fancy, clown ears or some
Right,
Disney ears.
Right.
When you look at these pictures, is it just kind of like, do you remember the day pretty fun? Like, was it just one day? Was it a couple days?
Oh, no, it was the hardest work I've ever done where I was so physically tired, but mentally completely not stimulated at all. Like,
Really?
Like like where you have to like stay put with an arch in your back and, and do not move. And it was, all the power to models in the world because they don't get enough credit for the kind of physicality that is to pose.
Do you feel sexy looking at these pictures? Does it have a feeling like that?
Kind of, but I mean, not at that time because it's you're working.
Was your did you have any siblings that were jealous? Because was your sister?
No,
There were no jealousy like that. No sister jealousy.
No, I mean, me doing this didn't preclude anybody else from doing anything they would want to do.
That's a good point. Would you do it again?
I'm really good friends with Cooper Hefner, Hugh Hefner's son, and he's taking the magazine in a different direction. I'm so proud of him. At his young age, he's really shown the kind of thoughtfulness and really wants the magazine to stand for something important, and everybody should follow him on Instagram because he's really
I will do
He's
that.
a really special kid of this generation, that generation. And so I don't think they would ask me again.
But if they asked, do you think you would? I'd buy an issue.
I don't think
So you sold one issue.
Oh, thank you. Two.
You sold two. Wow. And
Yes.
Nick could have borrowed mine, but let's be honest, he wants his own. Now, for what reasons? Who knows?
Thank you.
But obviously, he doesn't want to borrow his buddies.
Thank you, Nick.
So that's 2 issues.
There you go. Cooper?
So what do you think?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
So you're
I don't
saying
think
there's a
so.
chance. Anything else, Nick? Do you have any question?
No.
Yeah.
I got mine out. Thing.
Jeanie Buss, thanks so much. I want to. I'm gonna have to buy a jersey.
Okay. Well, I think I'd rather you come to my showcase when I do stand up.
Can
I'm
I?
just kidding.
No. Can I really come? Would you let me come?
No.
Really?
No.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, you think I'm going to quit after tonight, so we'll see. We'll see if I make it to the
so it's a
showcase.
challenge.
Yeah, there we go.
Do have one quick question.
Okay.
LeVar Ball's been in the news less. Did you guys get him to shut up, or is the media just sick of him?
Yeah, LeVar Ball gag is being sold on the internet too. Somebody's been selling a LeVar Ball gag. But I think LeVar Ball's also kind of exciting, and I think he's almost a sign of future dads to come. Do you, in a weird way?
I admire his devotion to his children, and I think that a father who cares about his kids and advocates for his kids is really important.
Yeah. Is it hard sometimes? Because you answer all your answers are super pristine sometimes. Is it hard sometimes to go through that filter a little bit? I mean, I don't think you seem programmed, right? I'm not saying
I'm
that.
not.
Right?
Right.
But is it hard? Does it feel like sometimes you have to, because you're a businesswoman, you are running a huge business. You're part of something, that represents a lot of people.
Right.
So you have to have a filter, right?
Everything has to be constructive.
Yeah.
That I don't believe in being critical without having. How can it be different? If you're willing to criticize somebody for how they do something,
Right,
then
constructive criticism.
You better know what way they had a choice of. You fix it, you talk about it instead of just saying negative.
Right,
Oh,
this
that
is bad,
person's
this is bad.
Right.
Yeah, we need solution. There's not enough solution sometimes.
Exactly.
There's not enough solution. I find these days there's just so much judgment and not enough solution, and also not enough understanding of where people come from. Mm-hmm. People are America's a very different country. We're just different in a lot of places. People come from different places. Did Trump ever come to any games? I'm sure he did over the years, huh?
Yeah. I mean, so did Clinton, Bill Clinton. I mean, we've had all the different presidents.
What about Michael Landon? Did he ever come?
Michael Landon.
Did he
yes,
really?
Yeah.
I love Michael Landon.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, I love him to death. I was such a huge Michael Landon
Was
fan.
he like your substitute dad?
I think he was. I think for a lot of Americans he was,
Yeah.
especially for me.
Yeah.
As a young man, I think, it was that was almost the only time that my siblings and I even had a family. It felt like it was whenever we would put that on.
Michael Landon?
Little House, and then Highway to Heaven, and Victor French. I loved both of those guys.
And no Bonanza?
I mean, I would go back and watch it sometimes, but I almost don't even want to see him like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was just too much of a rogue youngster. I need more of that father figure, But I think, we watched. I read all the books. I was a huge Little House fan. And I met Nellie Olson one time at the Chase Bank.
Wow. Did you tell her how much you
Yeah, I
loved-
told her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also met Theo from In the Heat of the Night, which is another one of my favorite TV shows. With Carol O'Connor. Did he ever come to a game?
Not that I am aware of. I can't say that.
Rodney Dangerfield?
Peter Falk used to come all the time.
Did he really? He's buried at Westwood Cemetery.
And Walter Matthau.
He's buried at Westwood Cemetery. Jeepers.
Yeah.
How many freaking former Lakers fans are buried at Westwood Cemetery? That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, my dad always had this thing that, if you had a friend visiting from out of the state, out of the country, and they said, I'm going to come to LA and I want to see 3 things. I want to go to Disneyland, I want to go to the beach, and I want to see a real live celebrity. Where would you take them to see a real live celebrity?
Live? Yeah, it would have been Westwood Cemetery if you didn't put live in there, but I guess now it would be the Lakers game.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Every time.
That you're going to see a celebrity.
Yeah.
It's true.
Excellent. Well, maybe we'll be there one day. Jeanie Buss, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, you guys.
And we wish you the best of luck this year, and you and the whole Lakers nation.
Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it.
And I want to come laugh soon, and I'll help you write jokes anytime you want.
You've already heard my best material.
Well, I've definitely seen some of your best work. I don't know if we can pull those up again.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves. I must be cornerstone. Oh, but when I reach that ground, I'll share this peace of mind I found. I can feel it in my bones, but it's gonna take a little time for me to set that parking brake and let myself unwind. Shine.